Sorry.
Kum Lenin Ablak Gemara. We are up to Daf Chav Gimel Amud Aleph. Maybe we should quickly go through the mission again just to remind us of what's happening over here. Mission is a Beis Amud Beis at the bottom of the page. Baruch Hashem. If somebody makes a sukkah on the top of a wagon, a bereisha is at the very top of the ship, where the sukkah is very vulnerable. Shaded is kosher, but you may go up on the wagon on Yom Tov or on the ship on Yom Tov, on top of the ship. And what's the chiddush? There's no chiddush. It's the contrast to the next part. Bereisha ilim, if you place it on top of a tree, and the only way to get to the sukkah is by climbing the tree. Al gabe gamel and a camel is also kosher. The sukkah itself do it properly, but on top of a tree. But there ain't oil of Yom Tov. You cannot go up to it on riding Yom Tov. What's the chiddush of this Mishnah here? That the sukkah is valid, or that you're not allowed to climb on Yom Tov? Neither of them is a chiddush. We'll see. It's not so simple as a machlekes tonight. Next part of the Mishnah. What about shtayim be'ilan va'achas b'yadam? Two of the walls of the sukkah, and according to Rashi here, including the floor of the sukkah, is leaning on a tree. And va'achas b'yadam, and one wall you put it down to the ground. But the other pshat is that the sukkah is actually on the ground, but the walls are the tree.
The tree constitutes the actual
walls. The problem with that pshat here is that means that your maimed, your davar hamaimed, is what's possible as chach, because the wood is on the tree. And Rashi, we learned before that davar hamaimed, or we learned Rabbi Yehuda before, that davar hamaimed is an issue. Why over here? Sorry?
You're using it as a base.
Where's the chach sitting? Two of the walls of the sukkah were man-made, going down to the ground. But still, the kasher of the sukkah is depending on the tree. Shaded kasher, the ain oilin lo b'yamtiv. You're not allowed to climb the yamtiv because it's leaning on the tree, and you're not allowed to climb the tree. But shalosh b'yamtiv achas bilim. If only one of the walls is on the tree, which is the fourth wall, which is totally superfluous. Shaded kasher v'oilin lo b'yamtiv. And why is that? Because that the rule is kosher. Not really shaded. If you remove the tree and the sukkah is still upstanding, it's kosher. You're allowed to go up there on Yom Tov. Says the Gemara, Mani Masnisin, who's also on Mishnah, who says you're allowed to go on, even though you cannot go there on Yom Tov? Sorry, who says over there that if you make a sukkah on top of a ship, even though it's vulnerable, it's good enough? Mani Masnisin, you learn to you make a sukkah on top of the ship, but a little place of rules is disqualified. Talking about the very top of the ship, so that it's very vulnerable, not in the bottom of the ship, which is surrounded by, the mast and other things. The sails coming in, we're going on the ship. Went ahead and built the sukkah at the very top of the ship. The following morning, Nishbaru came along a wind and gave a blow. Karta completely undermined the sukkah and turned it over. No, where's your sukkah? No, just proves my point. It's not a permanent sukkah. We're in Chav Gimel Amud Aleph. We're discussing the Mishnah here by making a sukkah on top of the ship. Omer Abaye, about 10 lines to the top of the page. And Chav Gimel, Omer Abaye, the Kuli Alma, Rabbi Kiva and Rabbi will both agree. If the sukkah is so vulnerable that even if it be on land, stationed on land, it's so rickety and fragile that it could turn over in an instant, like a regular wind. It's not a valid sukkah. It's not a building at all. It's not even a sukkah's ara. It's nothing. If it can withstand abnormal, strong gusts of wind on dry land, that means and it means on the ocean, they can tolerate ordinary winds. Withstand normal wind gusts and dry land, but Mitsuya de Abasha, but it cannot exist on Baruch Mitsuya. It cannot exist on normal gusts in the middle of the ocean. Sukah didas kevabina. We need a sukkah should be permanent. The kiva the any chaylam Baruch Mitsuya b'yam and the yam. It cannot withstand ordinary wind gusts. Lav plumi. It's not about sukkah. But Kiva says sukkahs did it arabin. It has to be temporary. Kiva the chaylam Baruch Abasha shada because it withstand normal winds. It's very difficult to stand the Gemara. But the point is, the sukkah is on the ocean. What's helped me? No, Rabbi Kiva built the sukkah. Amr Rabbi Kiva was the sukkah, but it's just Kiva, because she tells say Rabbi Kiva doesn't believe the sukkah. But what's the logic in that? It can withstand over there, in the middle of us, but where the sukkah is right now, it cannot withstand ordinary gusts. So how can it be kosher?
So what's your evidence? What's your determining factor?
You would think it would be wherever the sukkah is, if it can withstand Ruch Mitzuyah. So the Pshat is as follows. Rabbi Akiva holds that all the criteria of a sukkah is not a din in the sukkah, it's a halach in walls. When is as a sukkah walls considered sukkah walls? If in a normal place you build a sukkah, it can withstand normal winds. It cannot, then you don't have a sukkah wall. Not because this particular sukkah is, you cannot withstand, you don't have mechitzas. It's not called a mechitzah. But if it can withstand normal gust of wind and yabasha, then you put it on the ship, the mechitzah kasha. If the wind blows away, it blows away. You can't use it anymore. But right now, the chitzas you use are kasher mechitzas. That's what it seems what Rabbi Akiva is saying. And Rabbi Gamliel seems to be saying no. It has to be able to be effective here. And why is that? Because I hold it as keva. So you can't just make a standard rule. It has to be exactly. So therefore, it's not good. There's a standard for the kind of materials you use. Exactly.
According to
The forecast is a place that has to be regular. This kind of thing. Yeah, if you're in Florida during Sukkot when there are hurricanes.
So it wouldn't be.
That's a good question. What happens then?
Where you're in Iowa or somewhere that tornadoes.
Exactly. So Akiva said, according to Gamliel, will be a problem. But Akiva said, no problem. You have a kosher of mechitzas. The wind comes and blows it or topples it over. You got to. Now the next focus in this part of Mishnah, it says on a camel. Oyal gomel, or on a camel. You should know that there's a chiddush in the Mishnah because actually it involves a machlekes if you're a mayor and a bihuda. What's the machlekes? As follows. Machlekes is a general principle in halacha. If something is not ro derabbanan, is it ro deraisa? If the Torah says I want something, and my Torah, this is perfect, but the Rabbanan came along and intervened and they said this is you cannot do this, this, and this. Does the Torah recognize what the Rabbanan is saying? And since it's einu ro derabbanan, it's also einu ro deraisa. Not yotze. Or do we say since my Torah is good enough, it is ro. I don't care that the Rabbanan is not ro. So my Torah is good enough. Where do we say by camel? The case of the camel, you cannot climb there on Yom Tov. It's muktzah. So it's not the role of Shiva's Yomim. It says in Pasuk Chag Shiva's Yom Tov. You can't roll even 7 days. But Ma'atayr it is. It's only muktzah. It's only we're scared. It's muktzah. So therefore, the machlekes of a main Rabbi Yehuda, whether you can be yaitz with such a sukkah. There's the Mephoshim talk about that same pasuk. You use the Chag Shiva's Yom that you can build it any day during the 7 days. So there's someone to say that the pshat here is not so much arguing with the Ein Row. Rabbi Yehuda says it doesn't matter if it's row for 7 days. There's no pasuk for that because the pasuk that you're using it has to be row for 7 days. Maybe I also hold that Mahatayr is not row on that day, but since it's not. Since you cannot use the sukkah, what do you call it? The pasuk that you're talking about, I'm using to tell you that you can build a sukkah for 1 day, 2 days. Any day during the 7 days you can build a sukkah. If you hold Einu Ro Midrabbanan, you're not Yitzim Hatayr, that Rashi said before, that you are Yitzim, if you climb up the sukkah on the tree, you're still Yitzim the sukkah. That's only according to the Rab Meir, because that's only according to Rab Yehuda. But according to Rab Meir, if it's not a row for 7 days, because on the tree it's not a row for 7 days, then the sukkah is no good, and you're not Yitzim Hatayr either. You're not Yitzim. Not because it's mitzvah ba'al later, but because you don't have a sukkah that's row for 7 days. Exactly. So let's see this machlekes. Masnis and Mani, who thought a Mishnah made us? You learned how oisa sukkah gabehem. You make a sukkah gabehem. But Meir says machshir. Meir says it is kosher. But Rabbi Yehuda place. Rabbi Yehuda apostle. My time with Rabbi Yehuda. I'm not going to pause. Chag was yummy. Sukkah haruuya l'shiva yummy. A sukkah suitable for 7 days. And Rashi says on the first day of sukkah it's never suitable because it's Yom Tov. Others say that it has to be suited. The problem is
when you say Shiva Shom, you can't make it because it's something you can't make it on them.
The one who holds the Chazayim and Beis see that those hold it means that you can build any day of Sukkot, obviously except Yom Tov, which you build out of Yom Tov. Chalamayit.
I used to have in my shop. Sometimes I didn't need to look at the Yom Tov. I wanted to do
same thing. You do the same thing. Sukkah roll Shiva is Sukkah. So ain't really Sukkah. Not roll Shiva is not row for Sukkah. But Meir, Hanami with the rice and makes the Chazia. There's nothing wrong with going on top of the camel. The Rabban and the Gazaba. It's only the Rabban who said you shouldn't go on the camel. and therefore I hold it's a good sukkah. So our Mishnah says you can make a sukkah on a camel, you don't climb down Yom Tov, holds like Rabbi Meir. That's a good sukkah. According to you, it wouldn't be a good sukkah.
Almost like Shabbos between Rabbi Shimon and all these other, Shimon units that you read sukkah. What's the stress in the pasuk and so on. So here it's interesting. It's not between Rabbi Shimon and Sabay in the beginning and how you read sukkah.
Okay, fair enough. But it's more. No, the way we learn pshat, where most of our learn pshat is an argument. So we're arguing something that's not row with the rabbanon. How does the Torah look at it? And this has many tangents. Some people relate it, some people don't. For example, if you mekadesh an isha with chametz the rabbanon on Pesach, we say the name Kodesh. Name Kodesh but Matari Mekudesh or not.
The rice take into account that was
so the rice is because also bahano. So the rice they recognize that it's also bahano, and therefore you weren't Mekudesh. Or Matari it was mutter bahano because only chametz the rabbanon, and therefore you gave something of value. You should Mekudesh Matari. You still need to get. Similar idea. It's not ein yoro, but it's something that has no value in the rabbanon, doesn't have value in the Torah. But the same idea. Does the Torah acknowledge the dinim of the rabbanon or not? Let's continue. Says the Gemara. We learn also the behemoth deifel sukkah. Let's say you made an animal a wall for your sukkah. You used an animal as one of your walls. Here, the other way around. Rameir says it's no good. Rabbi Yehuda says it is good. Here, Rabbi Yehuda makes it. Anything which has is a living being, you cannot use a light for a sukkah. We'll soon see why not. Not a wall for a sukkah. You can't use that as a post in a mother. You can't use an animal. And that remember those that weld there in the middle. You can't have those 4 posts. But wherever it says that, Taisus goes to town because Rashi always learns goyla kever is the doifik and the goyla is the lid of the coffin. And Tosha says, no, it says, how can it be a behemoth being the lid of a cup? It's talking about one part is a stone and one part is the thing on top of the dirt you put on top of the cup, but it's not the lid of the cup in itself. It says if it has life to it.
There's a dirt that you put on the top of the oven.
Yeah, that's what Tosha means. Veil is a dirt and Daifik is like the Matseva. Rabbi basically goes further. You cannot use a living animal. You cannot write a get on the animal and give it to your wife. Here's your pet your cow. This is your ksuva, and here is your get on that cow. My time, but why can't you use a living animal for a wall of a sukkah? We learned before it doesn't matter what material you use for the walls of a sukkah. So what's the big deal? Abaya, we have 2 opinions. Abaya, Mashem Thomas. What happens if the animal dies? Suddenly you lost the wall and you won't even be aware of it. You're not thinking about it all the time. Sorry?
Twice now.
Yeah, but he sinks and he falls on the ground. And you won't have to check
the legs don't hold him up. And you'll extend the wall.
Yeah, but you need it to be 10 tvachim or you need something. Yeah. You need either the wall to be 10 tvachim, or if it's less than 10 tvachim, it has to be within 3 tvachim of the schach. So that's a problem. That's reason number 1. Tom Rabbi says, Shema Tivrich. Maybe they will walk away. Says Gemara.
If the animal dies, it's possible. So
no, if the animal dies, you suddenly lost the wall, and you won't even be thinking about it. You're unaware, and you'll be seeing the sukkah minus a wall.
But it's tamei mace. It's
yeah, but you don't care. Only a kohen and the avodah. If you're an ordinary person, it doesn't matter.
Uh-huh.
It's not tamei mace, by the way. It's tamei nevela. Tamei nevela. If you touch it, you only tamei that day until that night for a mikveh, and then you wait for sunset. But you're right. And then you have and the other opinion, you might just walk away. You won't have a wall. Says he more as follows. But peel kosher. If you have an elephant that's tied up, there's no argument. The inami mayis that if it dies, let's say the animal collapses and dies, it'll still be 10 tvachim. An elephant is that big that even if it's he won't walk away.
He's better when he's dead. If he walks away, he's going to pull the rest of his sukkah with him.
That's true. And well, you tied him down, he's not going to walk away. Maybe it's a baby elephant. It's not going to walk away. And if it dies, it's still 10 tvachim above the ground. Yes, you keep pleading.
And when he dies and he flops, the schach doesn't collapse either.
Exactly. We talk about that you shouldn't sit in the sukkah with a schach, and we said certain kinds of schach that has a bad smell. How in the world are you allowed a dead elephant to have in your sukkah? Even a live elephant isn't very good for your conducive for appetite. So the Gemara, Sorry, it's very thick. Yeah. Like Me'achzak. Keep pligi betil she'enu kosher. You have an elephant that's not tied down. That's a machlekes. The man of Sheva Tammuz lechin. Who cares? If it dies, it dies. It's still a 10 tefachim. But the man of Makzei the Sheva Tivrach. But worried about it might walk away. Chashinim. It can still walk away. Says the Gemara. I don't understand. The man of Makzei the Sheva Tammuz. Even the one who says that it might die. Why isn't he worried that it will walk away? Nei Chashem Tivrach. What kind of? You only worried the chash. Why aren't you worried that animal will walk away? See, much is right. The one who worried about Sheva Tammuz is worried about both. So what's the machlekes in? Ela bepil she'enu kosher. If it's not tied up, no argument. He'll walk away. Everyone agrees. He'll walk away. It's not a good walk. Keep plea. The machlekes is the behema. We're talking about an animal, an ordinary animal. If it dies and it falls down, it would no longer be 10 tefachim high. Shooter that's tied up, so it won't walk away. Lemandam Shema Thomas Chashim worried you will no longer have a 10 tefachim wall. But the man might escape. I'm not worried. Even though it says who might walk away, he tell me because it's tied up won't walk away. But why isn't he worried that it's going to die? Why isn't he also worried about the chashash? Entertained idea the animal might die, he won't have 10 tefachim. That he says different. Walking away is far more common than the animal dying. I'm not chayshish for misa.
Only die once in your lifetime.
Yeah, exactly. Very good. So then I'm not worried that the animal is going to die, and it's not chash. And if it does, you'll notice. It says the Gemara, how can you use an animal? Is there a gap between the bottom of the stomach and the ground of more than 3 tefachim? We learned before that Gedim can be breaking both no good. So how can you use an animal as a wall? And the Gemara, the ovid label you hear this? You tie the animal up as a wall, Nebuchadnezzar could find it, and you filled up the whole bottom there with these pieces of these palm branches. So why couldn't you just make the whole wall out of it? You want to be cute?
You have enough.
You never know.
Only had a few pieces to block up the holes.
Okay. $5 a
piece, $6 a piece, or something like that.
With the wolf. Why aren't we worried that the animal might just lie down, crouch? You're talking about dying, which is uncommon. You only die once in a lifetime, as you say. But the animal can crouch when it's tired, and when it crouches, it seems that this animal is strong enough that if it's the size down, it will break. Remember, there's a paucity of wood, otherwise you make a whole wall out of it. So exactly, which is, within feet and all these gaps.
Covered the wall, not on the mother shadow, covered on the side of the animal.
Look what happened there. You took your animal and you tied it with ropes to your schach, or somewhere to a roof top, so the animal even dies, it'll be suspended, it's not going anywhere.
What's your roof made out of that holds up an elephant?
Look at what it says here. No, not level, we're talking about behemoth. Any animal, not an elephant. An elephant is just tied up, everyone agrees, no problem. Won't walk away, and if it dies, who cares? Says the one who says that he might die. Nami, tied up, who cares if he dies? The whole idea of an animal dies is it'll fall down, we blow but he's tied up. Sometimes the animal is within 3 tefachim of the schach. And it shrinks. And therefore the lava dies, you won't notice it. So if the animal lies down, it still might be a 7 tefachim. But if the animal dies, it's different than just lying down where you crouch. It's like it completely falls apart, and he shrinks up, shrivels up, and you no longer have your wall.
If I come to you,
and you won't notice. This is an interesting thing. An animal dies right there, is dead. And suddenly it's dangling in the air, and nobody knows. You must be very preoccupied in your food.
So next time I come to your house for Sukah, if I see a bull or a box dangling in the side there.
I told you, it's Noyach Teba. That's what it is. It's all about remembering history. Says the Gemara, okay, so what does Abai come along and explain? Abai says, according to Meir holds that the reason why an animal cannot be used, we're worried, Shema Tammuz. Yeah, he's worried Shema Tammuz. We have a steer from this Abai to another Abai. And that is another. So are we really worried about Shema Yom? Says the Gemara, but Abai made Chayish Misa. That's how Abai explained the argument. But now we learned. Bas Yisrael shenisas lekoyin. You have the din is if a Bas Yisrael marries a koyin that she can eat truma as long as she's married to the koyin. If the koyin dies and she has a child, she continues truma with the child. If she's a small child, if the Bas when he dies, he stops. When the Bas koyin marries Yisrael, she can no longer eat truma. But if she has but when he dies, she can show the base of goes back to her father's house, continue truma. But if she has a child from the Yisrael, she can no longer eat truma. So what happens? But now, Bas Yisrael, Shenisas Lakoyin, Bas Yisrael is married to a Koyin, but Holach Balo Medina Siyam, and her husband, obviously, she has no children. The question is, can she continue eating truma, assuming her husband's still alive, or does she have to assume that maybe her husband is dead? Will be mach. That he died, we continue eating truma. That's what the one place said. Fine. But Allah, we ask a question. We have another price which says this: you get sure. We have no children, and I have a brother waiting in the wings. I don't want you to become exactly to have to have yibum. So therefore, I'm going to give you a get. So you don't have to go through the ordeal. I don't want to go through chalitza either. It's a very humiliating experience, chalitza. So I'll give you a get, but the get is not effective only an hour before I die.
So that's not mafreid because you don't know when he's going to die.
Exactly.
It's only after he's died, you said that from an hour before that.
So therefore you have to be machmir. Do you have to be machmir all the time? Maybe within an hour he's going to die. So the din is, if she's married to a kohen, she must cease eating truma because maybe within 45 minutes her husband will die. And therefore she's eating truma as a Yisrael. The Bas Yisrael. So you have a stira. First we said that the husband goes over, so she can continue eating. We're not worried the husband will die. And then you say for an hour before this person says before he dies, this get is valid. You no longer eat truma because maybe he'll die any minute. What's going on here? Order by Lakasha, it's two opinions. Harameir, the loy chayish lemisa. Rameir said the husband is probably alive, and Abi Yehuda the chayish lemisa. Exactly the opposite of what it says by Algmar. And where did Abaye get over here that Amazing one is not? He draws an analogy not from but from another Gemara that we had 4 or 5 times in Shas. Are you worried that barrel is going to break? This is the story. The Tanya the Brais if somebody buys yayin he buys wine from a kusim. No, but they're worse than they're not trusted. They're worse. There's no yain then, but they're not trusted because by Namoritz, we assume the truma was given. All that. All thing is the mai. By a kusi, we assume they didn't give truma, they didn't give mai, they get nothing. Yeah, but we still entrust them. We learned. We learned. Shimon says, "Kol mitzvah shechzikaba and more machma than eating."
We trust them on those which they keep.
We learned. Initially they were not good game. Then they became good game, and then they became again back not good game. And the question is that middle period with the Gedi Emes. In the beginning, definitely they were not Gedi Emes. They were scared of the lions. There were lions roaming in Israel, so they joined the Eden. They were not Gedi Emes. Then later on, they became Machlekes and Meir. Became Gedi Emes and that, and then yeah. So now. This is right before Shabbos. You have no time to do anything. So what do? Shnei lugin shani, and you have to give truma ma'is and all that before the Shabbos. So shnei lugin shani osid lahafri, the 2 lugin that I will set aside after Shabbos. Harei hein truma. So in other words, we don't even trust them as far as truma is concerned. So, and there's no time anyway to truma. So you say it's Motzei Shabbos. Eventually, I will separate, and it'll be yesh breidel mafreya. That all along with the 2 lugin of truma. And what I'm drinking here, the 98 lugin in this barrel, is not the truma. Asora, then 10% is Maaserish. Now you have only 90 parts or 89 parts. Tisha or 88 something. Tisha 9 is Maaser Sheni. We're rounding up to the whole numbers. 9 is Maaser Sheni. But Maaser Sheni you can read everything straight away. So do that. Because Maaser Sheni, what you normally do is you transfer it to money, and the money you bring to the Shalim. So Meichel, right away you transfer it to money. V'sheisim miyad, you could drink straight away. On the Cheshbon that Motzei Shabbos, you will set aside the 2 lugin and the 10 lugin and so on. Leave it at May. The 22%, right? It says that Rabbi Yehuda, but Rabbi Yasi and Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Yehuda is aser. Why are they aser? Because they are worried that maybe the barrel will break Motzei Shabbos. So who's worried about breaking or dying? I mean, I'm not worried about breaking. I'm not worried about dying. And Rabbi Yehuda says, I am worried. So Abaye says, the Mishnah that says that we're not worried that the Kohen will die, and the Mishnah says that we are worried is Rabbi Yehuda. Is exactly the opposite of what we just explained by the behemoth. Abzeda says the behemoth walk away fine, but Abaye says the behemoth might die. Abaye, he's not worried about it. Let's just finish this part of the sugya. So you're right. Turn it around. You turn around. Don't bring any parallels from Bein HaKusim. Abaye Taka is drawing parallels from Sukah, and he's saying that these two, the Mishnah over here is a machleki the Meir, but Abaye is the one who's not chayshes l'mishnah because, like by Sukah, he's not. Sorry, Abaye is the one who is chayshes l'mishnah, like by Sukah, and Rabbi Yehuda is not chayshes l'mishnah like by Sukkah, and turn the names around and forget the case of Kusim. Just focus on Sukkah. Now, what do you mean forget the case of Kusim? But the fact is a machlekes. I'll give you another rationale to the machlekes of by Bein HaKusim, so you see it has nothing to do with Misa. What's that? The time we learned also for the Sukkah, because it's chayish l'misa. Therefore, he says the woman can no longer eat truma, and Rabbi Yehuda machshe because therefore he's not chayish l'misa, and therefore he holds that the woman can't continue eating. Pretty much of new, but we have a problem. We have this brayse here that talks about kasha that Rameir says, don't bring me a raya for Bekiyas Anoid. I hold that Misa is much more common than a barrel breaking. Why is it more common than a barrel breaking? Misa shchicha Bekiyas Anoid le shchicha. Why? The efshe the muscle lo l'shema. You can always hire somebody to watch your barrel. Let me have the expression the other Gemara says, and the shema has a shema to watch him. But the poil don't draw a parallel between Misa's Adam and Yevok Anoid. Bekiyas Anoid. Nu what Kasha B'Yehuda. The Kasha B'Yehuda. So Madoch when it comes to Misa, Rabbi Yehuda says, sorry, Madoch when it comes to Anoid. Rabbi Yehuda is worried that Shema Yivaka, surely he should hold that Misa Moshkiach, surely he should hold Shema Yamus. Why isn't he worried? Says who told you that he's worried that the cheshbon behind Rabbi Yehuda's svara is because Shema Yivaka Anoid? His cheshbon is he doesn't believe in Breda. What's helped me that tomorrow night you're going to set aside, but right now it's all mixed together. It's tevel, not because it makes sense. It's tevel, and therefore we have actually a very interesting machlekes nachronim. Okay, if you hold ein breda, I set it aside two lugin for truma and 10 for meiser ein breda. So what's pshat? Is the pshat that nothing happened, so therefore the whole thing is tevel, or is the pshat that truma was chal, but it's mixed into the whole barrel, and therefore you might be eating so you might be eating truma. Is the no, because what's the pshat when we say ein breda? Ein breda means that nothing happened, or ein breda means it happened, but it's not mavurah. You don't know which is what. What is it, chal or not chal?
This bit that's left is the tumor.
So we don't do lemafrei. We don't activate lemafrei, but something happened. We won't talk about it. It's actually an interesting subject, but enough now. So you right time with the Rabbi Yehuda. Who told you Rabbi Yehuda is worried about the breaking of the barrel? Leslie Breda doesn't hold the concept of Breda. What are you talking about? It's clear if you read the language in over there. It's clear that it has to do with the question is whether the night will break or not. And if Rabbi Yehuda is worried about Bekiyas Anoid, then we should say surely Mrs. Adam, Mrs. Behema. What do you mean? Well, it says in the Sefer, they continue the argument. It says in the Sefer, they said to the maid, all three of them, look at all of Meir's friends tackled. Not often that you have all of us chavedim come out and tackle. In fact, there's only one other town in that group of 5 that is not here. Aren't you moided that Shema Yevok Hanoid? Don't you concede that maybe okay? Let's say we everything he says is right, but how can you go ahead and eat this? And what happens tomorrow night? The barrel's gone. And Lamafrei, you've been eating tevel. But if the shows too Lamafrei, you're eating tevel because you're saying that you're going to separate it tomorrow night. It never happened. Amalu, and he said Likashi Yevaka. What happened? It happened. But I'm not worried right now. Miklal is it ayil chayda? What's the svara of you? The chayju little kids and he is worried about the breaking of the barrel. Says the Gemara, no, you misunderstood. Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yeshua, they hold ein breda. So how come they're talking about Bekiyas Anoid? They're talking to Rabbi Meir in his language. Hasam Rabbi Yehuda who the li Rabbi Meir. Lididi, I hold Leslie Breda. I don't believe in Breda at all, so therefore you can't rely on tomorrow night. I'm going to set aside to remember. I said, Ella Lidida, you, the Yesh Breda, you believe in Breda. Don't you believe that maybe the barrel is going to be you should be worried about Bekiyas Anoid? And Amaleni said, exactly. So bottom line is Abaye says that Meir is the one who is Chayshel Misa could die for the Sukkah, and therefore the woman should stop eating truma. The beauty is not Chayshel Misa. The machlekes of Yayin and Kush has nothing to do with breaking the night. That's the general principle of Yesh Breder and Breder. See tomorrow night this very discussion.